Lauren, you asked me about what was unique about the geography of Israel, and it's a small land. It's not a very large nation. At one point, it's only 6 miles from the West Bank to the Mediterranean, and it's I don't know how from top to bottom it is, but it's a small nation. But it's got a unique geography. Along the coast, you've got the coastal plain. In the south part of Israel, you've got the Negev, which is a desert, a barren region. There's the Judean hills that you have that are where Jerusalem is. In the scriptures, you always say you go up to Jerusalem. In the north is Galilee and the hills around Galilee and the mountain ranges like the Carmel Mountains and the Jezreel Valley and so forth. And all this, it's fertile and lush and so forth in the north, and near the Sea of Galilee in the south it's dry. And one of the things that's common is there's rock everywhere. Just to give you a couple examples of how the geography affects things. The first time I went to a place called Caesarea Philippi. You've heard of it because that's where Jesus asked the disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And Jesus, and then they give him all sorts of answers. He says, "Well, what about you? Who do you say that I am?" And then the disciples, or Peter says, "Well, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus says, "Well, blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. And I tell you, you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it." Well, in Caesarea Philippi, which is up in the north on what you might have heard of as the Golan Heights, in those days there was a spring that came out of the ground, out of the depths of the ground, and the rabbis called it the gates of hell. And the mountain over the top of it was called the Rock of God. And so Jesus is using the geography and the names of these places to teach his disciples about him. Well, the other thing I wanted to share with you is when we were the first time we were down in the southern part of Israel in the desert, and it was hot, and we had climbed to top of a place called Timnah, and which is way down in the southern tip of Israel, as close to Egypt as you can get anywhere in Israel, and it was a hot day, and after we got done, we were driving back to our next stop on the tour. And the guy pulled over and then took us into some shade and talked to us. And he said, "Now that you've been out in the heat of the desert in Israel, does it make sense why the scriptures say God is your shade, or our shade at our right hand? That the scriptures use shade as a picture of God's protection and care." Then one last one in Psalm 121 where it talks about, "I lift up my eyes to the hills, from whence cometh my help? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." Well, that's one of the Psalms of Ascent, one of the Psalms they would pray as they journeyed to Jerusalem, where the temple was. And they would be going up the hills. And so as they would journey to Jerusalem for one of the festivals, and they would pray the psalm, "I lift up to my eyes to the hills. From whence cometh my help?" Well, from there, from Jerusalem, from the temple, my help comes from the Lord. So yes, the geography of Israel plays a big part in the scripture.